If you've ever spent hours adding tiny details to a drawing only to feel like it still looks drawn rather than real, you're probably making one of these 3 incredibly common mistakes. I've taught thousands of people how to draw realistically, and over the years I've noticed some interesting patterns. When striving for hyperrealistic art, most people are making the same few mistakes. Mistakes that are totally understandable, but most importantly, they're mistakes that are often straightforward to fix. More on that later. So today, I want to share the 3 biggest things that I see stopping artists from improving. Let's jump straight in. Mistake number 1, focusing on the wrong things at the wrong time. Creating a realistic drawing is layered, multifaceted. There are different steps involved in creating a drawing, but we must make sure that we do the right steps in the right order. If you build a house, you put down the foundations before you plaster the wall, right? So what do I see people focusing on at the wrong time? Mainly it's the details. Details are incredibly fun, and when we're doing a drawing, we're itching to put the details in. Going back to the house analogy for a minute, when you walk in a room, the first thing you might notice is a picture hanging on the wall, or the beautiful wallpaper, or even the furniture in the room. But these are finishing touches. We can't actually see the foundations of a house, but they must go in first, and they're the thing that holds everything together. So, when we're looking at a reference image, a face for example, what does the keen-eyed artist notice first? Maybe the eyelashes, the beautiful details within the iris, the way the flyaway hairs catch the light. These elements are, of course, very important to a drawing, and because they're amongst the first things an artist may notice, it can be tempting to just get them down on the paper now. But here's the thing. This can really undermine a realistic drawing, because we have to put the foundations down first. First, an accurate outline, the most critical foundation. No amount of details will fix a drawing where the proportions are inaccurate. Then, once that's in, the next thing to do is to build up the tone, so that's your highlights and your shadows. There's still no details here. Only once the outline and the tonal values are down and accurate is it then time to put the details in. And this can be a little frustrating if we're feeling impatient, because the details are the fun bit. But if you're striving for realism or hyperrealism, be patient. It really is worth it, and it makes all the difference. Mistake number 2, underestimating the time required. There are 2 time scales with drawing: the time it takes to learn the skill and the time it takes to create a single drawing. And I think many people may underestimate both. In the modern world, things just don't take as long now. We have TV on demand rather than waiting a week for the next episode, and we can Google answers to almost any question rather than having to find the relevant book and look it up. We're simply not used to waiting anymore, and I think this has affected our perception of how long some things actually take. Something taking a long time is so rare now that the idea of it taking time to develop a skill or to complete an artwork can seem more alien to us. When it comes to skills like drawing, this is so important to remember. Instagram is great because we can open up the app and we can see wonderful art being created by artists all over the world. But what we don't see is what it took for them to get there. How long did that artwork take? How many days, weeks, or even months? What problems did the artist run into? And what about the time it took for them to develop their skills? Well, that bit certainly took them years, but we don't see that on Instagram. Drawing is one of the few remaining things that refuses to be rushed. It takes time to develop the skill, and it takes time to create a great drawing. We don't get to skip either of those steps. So, something that I find extremely helpful as someone who creates drawings that can take quite a long time is to set expectations. Before I've even begun a drawing, I say to myself, this is going to take time. I've done so many drawings at this point that I can guess pretty accurately how much time. And this is great because it means that I never have a day where I'm feeling the need to rush or getting frustrated that it's taking too long. There's no pressure. It takes as long as it takes, and that allows me to create the best drawings that I can. Mistake number 3, not pushing tonal values far enough. When we do a sketch, we're marking an outline on the paper. If we want to then create a realistic drawing, we of course go further than just a sketch. What I see a lot of people doing at this stage is adding in some shadows, putting the hair tone in, drawing and detailing the eyes, the lips, etc. And this is all great, but we end up with a drawing that might look something like this. I mentioned this in mistake number 1, focusing on the wrong thing at the wrong time, adding the details too soon. This is a sketch that I did as a teenager. It's got a realistic quality to it, but it doesn't look real. It looks drawn. Why? Well, look at the skin tone. It's paper white. The hair, I've drawn it black with reflections, the dress too, and the irises are nice and dark. I've added eyelash details, details on the earrings and the eyebrows, and I've added a nice deep shadow under the chin. But there's barely any tone to the skin at all, leaving it looking unnaturally flat. A couple of drawings later, I'd started to work out that I needed to add a bit more shadow onto the face. There's a much better overall depth of tone here, but still, the forehead and the nose are basically paper white. So, this is closer, but it still looks drawn. Fast forward to now, looking at this portrait, the only areas on here that are actually paper white are these really small, bright highlights. Most of the skin is a mid or dark grey tone, and there are many shadows here that are darker than you might expect. They're almost black. Look at them side by side and you'll see just how much darker the skin looks overall on my hyperrealistic drawing. On a broader level, what this really boils down to is tonal values. Assuming the outline is correct, the deciding factor on whether a drawing looks hyperrealistic versus it looking drawn is the accuracy of the tonal values. Here's the really interesting thing. Details don't matter nearly as much as you might think. Eyelashes, little flyaway hairs, skin texture, they bring a hyperrealistic drawing into focus, but they're not doing much of the heavy lifting. The tonal values are. Let me show you. Here is an outline only. Here's the tonal values added, and then the details at the very end. Of course, the details bring some wonderful realism to the drawing, but I'm sure you can see that the step from outline only to tonal values is huge. And if we miss that step, we end up with a detailed drawing with no depth. So, I mentioned at the start of the video that these issues are often straightforward to fix. And that's completely true, because drawing is a skill set. It's like learning a language. Anyone can learn to do it if they want to. And so these 3 mistakes that I've mentioned in this video are not a huge deal, because we can learn how to overcome them. It really isn't a matter of talent. It's just knowing the theory and how to apply it. And this is exactly why I founded my drawing school, so that I can show people all around the world how to improve their pencil technique and control, how to grow in confidence, and how to create their own hyperrealistic drawings step by step. Whether you're more of a beginner or a more experienced artist, my Hyperrealism Mastery Program has you covered. Check out the link below to find out more. If you've enjoyed the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.